Hey everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines, better known as the one-handed mechanic. If I can do it, you can too. Today we have here a John Deere D130, and I want to show you, in my opinion, on how to install the mower deck belt. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at the tools that we need today. Okay, so from left to right, I'm going to use my electric ratchets. You guys can use out there either a 3/8, quarter inch, whatever you have that you can put a 15 millimeter on or a 10 millimeter on. I'm going to use a 4-inch extension, pair of needle nose pliers, a little bit of anti-seize that may be needed depending on how you want to do this, and a couple of blocks actually to help the mower deck to get this on and off. This one's a little bit more tricky than others. And you're going to want to use, hopefully you guys can use an OEM belt. They just hold up a lot better than the aftermarket belts. This is a GX20072 for the 42-inch deck for the D130, and you may possibly need a flashlight. So the first thing you want to do is find yourself a flat surface, preferably asphalt or concrete. Put the mower deck, which this one is all the way down. This one is going to be a little bit tricky because it's been in the shop a couple times, and when you put the mower deck all the way down, it does not touch the ground, which means that I'll be putting this on and off with it up in the air a little bit, so it makes it a little bit tricky for me. So what I would recommend, it makes it easier to take off your brackets that we need to take off if you put like a block of wood or something underneath here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick the mower deck up and set it on the block here. That'll help us loosen up the front pivot here so we can take off the front rod, which I'm going to do first. But we want to back up a step here. We're going to go ahead and put the emergency brake on. That'll help it from going back and forth on us. I did forget to show you guys that I use a pry bar instead of the wood a lot of times because it's easier for me to put a pry bar underneath the front, lift up the front end. Then you're going to pop off this pin right here, and you can use the pliers or your fingers. Take off the washer, don't lose it. And then we can pop out the front here, and it's going to be a little bit tricky. Now also, if you see here, there's 3 holes, and somebody has tried different holes for different, I don't know exactly why they put so many holes there, but we use the top hole for this one. Just remember on your machine that you recognize which hole that the rod came out of. We're going to leave the rod sit there right now because we're just going to do the mower deck belt. So now we want to go ahead and I'm going to take the wood blocks out here. We got to go to the center bracket, which is right under here. Okay, pull the pin. Now, I also tell everybody this pin is facing rearward, and I know it's a little tricky to get in here. We're getting hung up on the PTO blade engagement cable right here, which goes around here, and then it goes down here. So what we're going to do is, since we're getting hung up on this, actually I just got it out there, but we're going to take this, it's a little clip pin right here that you can pop out. That'll get the cable out of the way. Some of you guys may or may not have the little clip up here. If you don't have it, hanging down like this is probably fine, but this one here comes up and actually bolts to the side of the frame. Some did, some didn't, so just remember where it goes. Then you have a washer here, going back up to the bracket, and then it should just pop down. Now back in the rear here, we have to take off this bracket, which is just a pin up here, and I turn these sideways like that, and then I push them up and they come right out. Take the washer off. Then you can flip this 90 degrees. Now the way they go back on again is they go 90 degrees in. It's like a little puzzle. Okay, 90 degrees in and go up. Just make sure that the U is facing rearward, okay, when you put it back on. Let's take this out. Now we're gonna go around to the other side. Okay, so we're in the center here. And again, this pin is facing rearward. If you face it this way, it could pop out, so you want to face it this way because when you drive, 99% of the time we're going forward, and if it tends to get hit by something, it'll go in, not out. Pull that off. Now you saw how the mower deck came back. The mower deck is now sitting on here, this bracket, even though we have the mower deck all the way in the down position. So what I'm going to do is lift up on the back of the mower deck here with my pry bar, which should get the tension off of this, and then you turn this sideways, pull it up, take a pin, washer out, down and off. Now you just slowly take my pry bar out, and we're going to go around to the other side, and we're going to pull the mower deck out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the mower deck belt off right here, and it has a little U-bracket. Make sure that when you put your belt back on again, it's in between this U-bracket and there's one on the other side. All right, so we're gonna take this off. This slips up and out and over and then down. And I'm gonna reach around to the other side and then do the same thing. I'm just gonna pop it off. It's pretty straightforward. Just remember, they must go between these eyelets, the little U here. And I'll show you that when we put it back on. Now we're gonna go ahead and pull this out. And you have to be careful with your cable right here. I'm gonna try to just bring it out enough that we can get this pin right here. It actually allows us to get this out of the bracket. Take that out. Now you should be able to pull this out like so. And then we'll have a lot less tension on it. And keep pulling your mower deck out. Now we're about to the end here. Now what we have to do is, I'm going to move this bracket back over like this. Now this is our huge spring. This was an upgraded cable. Some of you guys may have a smaller spring. But as you can see, it's not the easiest to get out of this hole right here. This is your blade engagement bracket. So we're just gonna pop this out. Now by popping this out, you just push in the center of the spring and then pull up here and it comes right out, okay? Just make sure you remember to put it back in that slot. And you have to go underneath the brake and underneath the older belt right here. And if your belt is broken, obviously, when you put it back together again, I'm just going to set it off to the side. When you put it back together, you want to make sure your spring is under here. The reason why we're changing this belt out today is because it has gotten very thin from where it must have wore on something. Once you get the mower deck out to this point, you can go ahead and take off these two covers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take off this cover first. Okay, and when you pull the cover off, I'm going to turn upside down and show you guys that this is a guide right here, okay? So these brackets, these little teeny fingers sticking out, keep this belt on from falling off. Don't run the mower deck without these. The newer style belt cover actually has a metal tab insert right here, where the old style did not have it. So if you have the old style and it's plastic right here, it wears through all the way through the edge of this, and then it'll start flapping around and you can have premature wear on the belt, and you can also fall off. As you can see here, it actually wears to the metal and then it stops. So it can't wear any further than that. And that's just from normal slapping around in there, which is fine. Just make sure you use them. And if you need the upgraded ones, you got to get your local John Deere dealership. Again, the same with this one. It actually has the upgraded pin right here that's inside. It's a metal pin. So if you have extreme wear and the plastic is worn through, you want to upgrade your guards. Now, there's a guide right here, and a lot of people will just bend this down or bend it up. I don't like to bend these tabs because they'll start rubbing on this if you're not careful, because the tolerances are very tight, especially with this one. You bend this tab, you can bend this bracket, which is a very light bracket in my eyes. So I just take the 15mm socket, take these off, and you don't even have to take them all the way off. If you pull up on them and slide them sideways, they'll just pop the belt right out, like so. And the never seize I got was, the anti-seize was, you can put them, if you have a hard time getting these off, once you get them off, put a little anti-seize on the shaft, and that'll help for these for the next time. And just pry evenly on each side, and they'll pop up. Sometimes it can get pretty rough. A little bit of PB Blaster in there also will help, be able to get them unseized if they are seized. Now, once we have these off, the belt will come right out. And I always recommend at least making sure you're really close to the new belt. And I do like OEM belts. They last a lot longer. This belt, I can already tell, is much fatter than the old belt because the old belt wore funny. And it's about the same size. It might be a little bit shorter, which is actually better. Just a little bit, not much. I'm going to go ahead and route this on here. This one's straightforward. All right. Get your pulleys down on there and then tighten them up. And And this is where you should also grease your fittings on your mower deck. If you're in here, there's probably a grease fitting on this somewhere. There's one right here, and there's one on this side too. And also check your brakes. Your blade engagement's here, so when you engage your mower deck, it'll take these pucks away from the pulley right here. These little pucks here will wear out, they'll actually fall off. There's one on this side and there's one on this side. So when you disengage your mower deck, it actually stops these from spinning. It's a safety feature, and as you can see how it fell off right here, the belt. I'm gonna put it on, I pull a little tension on the belt, like that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put the covers back on. Once the covers are on, the belt won't fall off. As long as the covers are in good condition, get them tightened down. And be careful not to over tighten these and crack the plastic. Just snug them up, don't over tighten them. Okay, so we're on. Now remember, if you have your arms back, make sure you point them forward, or you'll be pulling the mower deck back out again. We're gonna go ahead and slide it under. Now we have to put the spring back on the blade engagement, and you have to make sure you go underneath your belt and underneath the blade brake arm, which is here. And then we're gonna go down on into the hole, push down, just like that. I'm gonna push this in a little bit more. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in this bracket. A lot of people ask me, geez, it's not an adjustable bracket, what makes the tension? Your spring is the tension, okay? That's all the tension that sits on this mower deck belt. When your blade's engaged, the spring is the tensioner, and that's it. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and put this pin in. And again, I like to make them go from forward to backward so they don't fall out. And this one basically just helps keep this in. It doesn't really do much of anything except that. I'm gonna push it in. I'm gonna go ahead and put the belt on this side, around the loop inside the little U right there. Put it on the pulley. I'm gonna go around to the other side with my hand, and we're gonna put it into that pulley. That should sit fine. You can either rock the tractor back and forth to get to your hole for your front rod, or you can move the mower deck. It's just as easy to rock the tractor, even though the brake was on. It moves slightly. And just remember what hole you were in the front here. And then we're just gonna go ahead and put the pin in with the washer. We do have the cable that we have to put up, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this arm in first. Just line that up. And you do have to kind of manipulate the mower deck around, putting the pin in from forward to rearward. Then we're gonna put this cable, blade engagement cable, back up into the bracket. And when these things are working properly, they will lock in. Sometimes they work for a while, sometimes they don't. These are pretty good brackets though. And then the rear one here, like I said, it's like a 90-degree puzzle. And because our mower deck is so high off the ground, even at the lowest setting, I'm gonna go ahead and lift up with my pry bar. And this is where put a couple blocks in. That'll help you guys get it very close. If not, it'll go right on. And just put it on like so. I'm gonna go ahead and pin on. Go around to the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the middle right here. And put that on like so. Put your pin in. Forward to rearward. Come back here. 90-degree up. Make sure the U is facing rearward. You know, I just have to lift up on the mower deck a little bit. Washer. Pin. Okay, so now you want to look, make sure your belt is on this side correctly, the other side correctly. So you want to engage your mower deck handle now. Come back down underneath. Make sure everything is running as it should. Okay, and you may have to pick up the mower deck a little bit to get the belt tension to actually get it. Some people are like, there's no belt tension. As soon as you pick up the mower deck, it usually we'll put a little more tension on the belt and then you'll feel better about it. But that is perfect, just the way it is right there. And at this point, you want to disengage your mower deck handle, because if you forget, your tractor won't start. And right now, I would definitely do tire pressure, level the mower deck out. I do have a video on how to level a mower deck on these, and I'll put that in the link in the description below. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share my channel with your friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.